fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we're taking a look at the Quintesson Pit of Judgment from the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy. Now this was a Pulsecon exclusive. I believe originally it was supposed to be either a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive or maybe a shared exclusive with San Diego and New York. But because neither of those events ended up happening, Hasbro took all of their planned exclusives and made them Pulsecon exclusives. Now, I don't know if Pulsecon was always a thing that was going to happen or if it was something they just made up in response to the other conventions being canceled. I'm inclined to believe the latter. But all of the exclusives that they had planned for the year became Pulsecon exclusives, and this was definitely the number one for me. This was the one I had to have, so I was very happy that I was able to get it the day that they went on sale. As you can see, it is recreating the Quintesson pit scene from the 1986 animated movie, The Transformers. One of my, if not my favorite movie of all time still to this day. And I love this. I mean, we have a lot of repaints here. We have a repainted Quintesson. We have a repainted Sharkticon. We have a pretty heavily repainted and remolded Alicon from Wave 2, which, sad to say, I still don't have the Alicon or the Quintesson yet from Earthrise. So these are going to be new molds to me, and I won't be able to do comparisons. But when I eventually get the actual Earthrise versions, I'll bring these guys back in those videos and do comparisons. But then you have these two little, I'm guessing, like PVC figures. This is the like Quintesson lawyer. I don't know. Like, if you think of this as a courtroom where he's the judge, this is the bailiff. He kind of like makes the case for the prisoners. So maybe he's like the distorted Quintesson version of the district attorney or public defender. I don't know. In any case, this dude's over here. And then we have Krelix, the last survivor of Glintho, basically just getting ready to stand trial. So it's recreating the scene. You have this beautiful box. You have the like pit with the stage that you can actually take out of the box and use as a kind of a little cardboard playset. I'm not going to do that. I feel like you guys can see it here perfectly well. I'm going to just kind of put it back in the box, but they do boast that you can actually remove it from the box and kind of have it stand and still position the little figures around. So if you wanted to use it as a display piece, you totally could, which I think is actually really neat. And I believe Krelix does fit in the Sharkticon's mouth, which I'm also really excited about. I do think it's kind of interesting, though, on the box. It literally just says Quintesson Pit of Judgment, War for Cybertron Trilogy, Transformers. The names of the characters don't show up anywhere on the box. And then we look on the back, we have some beautiful artwork with that original Transformers the movie logo there. I love that. That takes me back to the 80s immediately, just that design, that logo right there. I absolutely love that. It's fantastic. But yeah, the artwork here I think looks beautiful. Up top, there's not really anything going on. Again, just says Quintesson Pit of Judgment, and then there's absolutely nothing going on the bottom. So it's a very, very cool display piece. Part of me is tempted to just keep it in the box like this forever because it looks so cool, but I can't do that. I got to get it open. I got to play with it. So let's go ahead. Let's get these guys out of the box, and then we'll take a closer look. So here are all 5 figures out of the packaging: the Quintesson, the Alicon, the Sharkticon, and then again, I still don't quite know what to call this guy, and I believe this guy's name was Krelix. I'm going to take a quick look at him. There's not much to him. He looks cool, and I'm glad I have him. And I swear when they first showed this off, they said that his arms could move. I cannot get mine to move whatsoever. At first, I thought maybe it was just because there's a little bit of paint, so I tried to kind of go around the edges with like an X-Acto knife just to kind of cut away any paint, but I cannot get these arms to move for the life of me. Again, I still think he looks kind of cool. I can't tell if his eyes are painted. I think maybe they are, but they're so tiny and sunken in that it's kind of hard to tell. But you have a little bit of gold there above the eyes, and then you have some pink or kind of a magenta there in the torso and the legs. So again, it's a cool little figurine, and I'm glad I have them. And maybe the arms are supposed to move, but I really can't get them to move at all. So I don't know if that was like early production sample they moved and then they took that out. Oops, I feel like have I rubbed that paint off the back of his leg? I just noticed that too. I didn't notice that at first, so I think maybe by putting him in the mouth of some of the Sharkticons and things, I may have rubbed some of that paint off. So be a little careful with that as well. And then we'll take a look at this guy. Now, for whatever reason, his head comes off. I don't remember that scene in the movie, but alright. His head comes off. I always liked him because he kind of reminded me of like an alien xenomorph or something like that. I always thought that was kind of cool. But very nicely detailed. The red eyes look good. All the silver paint looks really good. Um, it's a little loose, and I feel like if you turn it upside down, oh, now it's gonna, all right, it's gonna call me a liar on camera. So at first it seemed loose, like it was gonna fall out, but now it seems to be a little snug. But I love the tentacles, and they're all just posed. I don't believe he has any articulation whatsoever. I mean, you can move the head from side to side because that's loose in there, but everything else I believe is completely just a PVC figure. But very cool. I like him. I think he looks great. I mean, I don't really need him to have a ton of articulation. I certainly wouldn't expect the tentacles to move or anything like that. It's just a cool little display piece. So both of these guys, not too much to them, but I think they look great. I think he's a little bit better than him just because he's got more paint, more detailing. He's got a little bit of translucent blue here for like the energy burst that kind of keeps him aloft. But very, very cool. I wish his arms moved. It's not a big deal. I wish they moved, but it's not a deal breaker or anything like that. I am kind of bummed that I'm apparently wearing the paint off the back, but what are you going to do? Either way, these little two guys are neat, but I'm going to put them off to the side for now, and then we'll get into each of these three individually. Alright, up here first we have the Sharkticon. And of course this is just a repaint of the Titan's Return Sharkticon, but I really like the color scheme they chose. Translucent yellow eyes. Love the metallic purple. I think that looks really good. And then you just have a couple different shades of blue. I guess this is kind of almost like a seafoam green. It kind of reminds me of like Cup's color scheme, actually. Kind of a grayish, bluish green. But overall, I think he looks pretty good. Now this is actually the one figure in this set where I have the other version. So here is the Titan's Return Sharkticon, so I can do a comparison here for you. Pretty cool. Yeah, I think this one was definitely going for more of a color scheme of the original toy, and this one is definitely going for more of a kind of movie accurate color scheme. So I think that's pretty cool. I like having both, and I mean with Sharkticons, you don't really mind having more than one because you want to kind of army build these little guys. So very, very cool. Well, I'll go ahead and get into the transformation here. You're going to go ahead and just remove the tail, mace, weapon, whatever you want to call that. You can come here to the top section, and that unpegs. You can see that there was a peg right here and here, and we'll lift that up, and that was pegged into there and there. You can split the legs in half and just bring them straight down. You're going to come around to here, and this kind of double jointed area, and these pop off all the time, so if it happens, don't worry about it. But you can see there's a joint in there, and that's just going to lift up and pop into the shoulder, so you're basically just moving that shoulder joint up, and again, pops right off. Then you're going to take this, spin it around, pop it back on, do the same for this one, pop it on, bring this down. This will pop up the head, but you can then spin 180 degrees, and then you can kind of move the shark fin up. Down here, you're literally just going to take these pieces and just spin them around as far as they can go. And unfortunately, they just kind of hang off the back. I mean, it's a little Legends class figure. You can bring the mace back in. So, transforms exactly the same as the old one did. Just to demonstrate, I'll go ahead and transform him as well. Try to do this one a little bit quicker, just so we can have a comparison in the robot mode. For some reason, this one likes to get stuck on me. I don't really understand why. There we go. Spin that around. Split this in half. Straight down. Flip that out. Flip up the head. Spin it around. Put his arm back on. Spin that hand around. Flip up the fin. And then bring these around to the back. So, transformation so nice, I showed it twice. But anyway, I think they look good. Like I said, you definitely don't mind having more than one Sharkticon, and I love the two different color schemes used. I think I probably still personally lean more towards the original toy color scheme, but I do really like this. I think it looks pretty sharp. And like I said, if you army built these, you could kind of pretend maybe he's like a general or something, but I do like both color schemes, and the figure, I liked it back then, I like it now. The only thing I don't really like is that kibble that hangs off the back, but it's not really that big a deal. For a small Legend class figure, I think it's pretty good. Up next, we have the Alicon. I love the color scheme. That's like the first thing that jumps out at me. I just think it's a really, really fun color scheme. I love the head sculpt. He's got the mace weapon, staff weapon, whatever you want to call it. It does come apart in 2 pieces, so you can kind of feed it through the hand there. Or if you want him to kind of use both, you could put this in his hand like this, and then flip this around and have him hold this as a mace this way, so he could dual wield those 2 weapons, which is pretty cool. So we will take those out, put them off to the side for now. Articulation, I'm assuming, is the same as the other one. I don't have the other one. Oh, I actually forgot he's got another weapon back here. You can see that the tip of his tail, you can actually unpeg, and it's a little bladed weapon. So you can give him quite a few different melee weapons, which is pretty neat. So we'll put that off to the side. Again, I don't have the original, so I can't do a comparison with that, but when I do, I'll bring this guy back. He's got a swivel here in the shoulder. He's got a out to the side hinge. He's got a bicep swivel. He's got 90 degrees in the elbow. Actually, a little bit back. It's not quite, but he does have a wrist rotation. He's got this little flap here above the waist. He does have a waist swivel. It's mostly for transformation. He's got a hinge here out to the side for the hip. Thigh swivel, 90 degrees for the knee. Actually, again, a little bit more than 90 back the other way. He's got ankle movement as well as a tilt. So he's got pretty decent articulation. I think he's fun. As far as the head goes, the head is on a ball joint. It's a little sunken in, and again, that's because of the transformation. You'll see why in a minute, but I really like the head sculpt. I think it did a great job. The eyes are painted very nice. The kind of metallic pinkish color, mauve, magenta, whatever color you want to call that, very sharp, looks good. Otherwise, he doesn't have a ton of paint applications because he's just mostly molded plastic. Although I guess the brown, this brown down here looks like it's painted. Like this you can tell is molded, but I think this brown here is painted. And this little bit in between his toes. Now he does have kind of a giant backpack, but I think it kind of works for him. You know, having the alligator tail on the back, I think is kind of natural. It makes me think of like Leatherhead or something from Ninja Turtles, where he just kind of has the tail. So I think it works. The only thing I don't really care for is these secondary hands that they just kind of have hanging off of these hands. I'm not a huge fan of that. I would almost rather you just unpegged them and like they pegged underneath here or behind somewhere or even on the sides. I just think they look kind of garish just hanging there off the forearms of his robot mode, but what are you going to do? Let's go ahead, let's get into his transformation. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do, you can see that there are tabs here on the inside of the forearm, and there are tabs here on the inside of his chest. You're going to just bring this in, and you have to maneuver it a little bit, but just peg those in against the sides, like so. Then you're going to lift up this little flap and spin him around at the waist. You're going to lift up. This tail actually pegs in to the side of the top of the head here. You can see there's a little tab slot right there, and there's a tab inside there. So you have to unpeg that and kind of lift that up, so that way you can spin the waist around 180, and then you can put this back down. You're going to lift this up. Now you're going to kind of push this head into the chest a little bit, and as you do that, the alligator head's going to kind of come up. And then you're going to swivel this 180, and then you can see that there's 2 tabs right here, and they're going to peg in right there and there. So you kind of bring this down. All right, apparently I need to push this down more. There it goes. There we go. I swear the first time I did not have nearly as much trouble as I did this time. So there you go. You get that pegged in. You got the cool opening croc mouth there. At this point, you're just going to bend these at the knee and then kind of maybe put them in a crouch position like so. then you're going to flip up those super tiny hands. And there you go. That's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and put the tip of his tail back in just to complete that. Is that in all the way? Yeah. See, it's a little loose in there, unfortunately. When it's pegged in, it's a little loose. Now you can take these, put them back together, and there is a little spot right here, and you can peg that into either one of these right here or here. If you'd like to store that on his back, you can do so. So, to me, the biggest thing is he's got the opening, closing mouth. He's got rotation here, and then pretty much the hips and everything down below is exactly the same as robot mode. So no change in articulation there. The tail doesn't really move. It just kind of hangs there, but I like it. I think it looks cool. And again, you can put this guy in his mouth. And I forgot to show off him being eaten by the Sharkticon. I'll bring the Sharkticon back in a moment and show that off. But I think this works. I think it's a cool little gator mode. Like I said, the hands to me are... I'd almost rather they just use the same hands and had like a piece just cover, you know what I mean? Like they usually do like something back here just kind of flips around and covers the robot hands. I would have been fine with something like that, but you know, there's not too much to the transformation, but I still like the finished product for the most part. Taking a quick journey back to the Sharkticon, since it's an older figure, I figured you guys probably already knew, but just in case you're not familiar, the head does have a swivel here. You have a ball joint in the shoulder and the elbow. You have a ball joint in the hip, and then you have kind of a 90-degree bend in the knee. So I realized I didn't really show you guys articulation on this figure, I guess because it's, you know, a figure that's been around for some time. I didn't really think about it. But I also want to show off, now that was another big thing, you know, they touted having him being eaten as kind of a big feature. And again, these things always pop off. I don't know why. Probably has to do with the pressure I'm putting on them, but at least they always pop back on. That's the important thing. So I'm trying to transform this as fast as possible for you guys. Bringing this around and then peg together. There we go. And then bring this down and peg in down here. Why are you not? There we go. So put the fin back up, and then we'll even put the tail back on. So we have our Sharkticon back in Sharkticon mode. Now you're supposed to be able to put this guy in his mouth and chomp him, and he really can only go about that much. I swear on the video where they introduced this, they had it go all the way in, but you can't bend that head down really any farther. I guess technically you could lift this up and kind of get it to come in a little bit more, but that just seems kind of ridiculous to me. You can kind of do more of it this way. You can definitely fit him in the long way. But having him go straight in, you can really only get to about there. Which, I mean, it's still funny. I still enjoy the chomping, but it would have been fun. I mean, again, I didn't really expect them to retool this in any way. You know, they just needed... I mean, you have to have a Sharkticon for this scene, so of course you're going to just grab the most recent one you've done. I think the only other one they've done anytime recently was the... didn't they do some for Cyberverse? But they're not going to pick Cyberverse toys to put with the Generations, so this is the most recent Generations Sharkticon that they have, but I would have enjoyed a little bit more in the terms of the chomping, but I guess that's actually pretty good. Okay, getting back on track. Here is the Quintesson. I think he's kind of the most exciting part of the set. He doesn't do a ton, but I've always liked the Quintessons, and over the years we've had many attempts at a Quintesson. We had Alpha Q in Energon, and we had that Quintesson 3-pack recently in Cyberverse. That really wasn't that great. This is probably the best Quintesson we've had so far. And the one that comes out as part of the Earthrise line is fine, but I think this one is even better because it's more accurately painted, especially to look like the ones from the movie. So I really like this. I'm going to take him out of this little chair he comes in, and you just peg him in. It's nothing super special there. He's got 2 pegs underneath on this cool little like blast effect piece that keeps him aloft. But they've done a really nice job, and I kind of want to just click through these. Basically, there's a piece over here on the back that you just click through. So we have the first head. Why is this not doing it? Oh, because is this in the way? All right, we'll start over here. There's 1, there's 2, 3, 4. Oops, it went past them. This thing is not perfect, but this is the one that I always kind of felt was like the quintessential Quintesson head. This is the one I felt like they used the most, and this is kind of like, to me, the most iconic of all the Quintesson heads. I think it's neat how they do have articulated mouths, so you can move that. This guy has an articulated mouth. I think this guy does as well. This guy might not. Yeah, this one and this one don't. But the other 3 do, which I think is kind of neat, so I appreciate that. But they're beautifully painted. They resemble exactly the paint jobs and everything from the movie and the cartoon later on. I think they've done a really nice job with this as far as looking like one of the Quintessons. Now, Quintessons aren't really known for articulation, or certainly not known for transformation. But the tentacles can move up and down. And like I said, you can use this lever here to flip through the heads. He does also come with a gun. And you can peg it in on the side here to one of the tentacles, which is a weird choice. Let me get this going here. Come on. It's kind of annoying to line up just because the tentacles are so soft and the gun is not. Is that not supposed to? Maybe it doesn't go on that one. Maybe it goes on this one. He's got a couple different pegs on the sides of these tentacles. I don't know why this is giving me so much trouble. I swear I did this earlier with no issue whatsoever. There we go. So there you go. You can peg it into the side of the tentacle. Either way, I think it's weird. I don't know why he needs a gun. He's a Quintesson. He commands guards and whatnot. But if you want, you can take the back of the chair, and you can see there's a little spot here. You can actually store the gun underneath. So there you go. But, I mean, he just looks good. It's an imposing Quintesson. I think it's painted very nicely. I like that the head ratchets through. I think for the most part it looks good. So like I said, articulation, it's really just the tentacles moving up and down. But he does have a transformation, which I think is super goofy. But you go ahead, you grab this, and you lift this whole section out. You can see that there is a jail cell here, which opens up. So there's that, and then you just have this dome. So put these 2 things off to the side for the moment. You're going to come down here, and you're going to flip all the heads up. So you just kind of grab a hold. You can grab a hold of this piece down here and flip it up, and it's just going to go straight up like that. So you're going to come around and do the same thing for every one of them. Flip this around. Flip this around. So once you have all 5 up like that, like they're having a huddle, they're getting ready to call the play, you're going to come down here, you're going to flip these pieces down, and you can see how there's kind of a little notch here that's going to line up. So you're going to bring this down and put it into the little notch. You can kind of, it says to bring the tentacles all the way up. I think it's just to get them out of the way, honestly. But this will kind of lock it in place from it spinning around. This is the one that, oh, you know what, actually? I have to move this, make sure it lines up, because there's one. This thing is not the best. There we go. Let's see. You can see here that this one has 2 notches, so you have to find the spot where that lines up. Here we go. This is the one that has 2, so you're going to put this down and peg that in there, and then all the rest of these. And these are double jointed. Like this one's not. That's a single joint, but these are all double jointed. You can see there's 2 pins. So you want to bring this down and have this go into the notch. And the way that these connect is that these 2 pegs here go on either sides of that square. And that's how they stay on. So bring these down. like so. Okay. I mean, you can push them in like I just did, or you can just kind of leave them hang straight down. I think you're probably supposed to do straight down because this one can only go so far because of that little like lever doohickey. So then you're going to come down here. This piece right here, you push down, or I'm sorry, you push down. And that's going to allow you to move that because you can see how that brings that in. So that'll allow you to unhook that from there and pull that out. Then you just sit this down here like this. This is actually going to peg in underneath here. And then this just sits in here. Because I guess they didn't know where else to put it. I think it's supposed to go like that. So, okay, that sits there. You're going to take the dome, or the chair rather, flatten that out completely, and then you're going to, well, you got to unpeg the gun if you have that pegged in. And then this is going to connect to that right there, and then this sits on top of that. So, the Quintesson base, I don't know. I'm assuming it's supposed to be used with Micromasters. I do think it's neat that you can take Krelix and put him in here. So he can exist in the little jail cell, which is neat. For some reason, it also tells you to put the gun on top of the jail cell. I don't really know why you do that. But, I mean, you can really put this wherever. It just tells you to sit it here, but you don't have to. It doesn't plug in or anything. You can sit it wherever you want. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get it. If you're going to sell a Quintesson in a Transformers line, you want it to do something because, you know, a non-transforming Quintesson would be kind of meh. Again, I reference Alpha Q and the ones we've gotten previously. So there's like a little, I guess there's a little area. Is he supposed to hang out in there? Does he fit in there? Kinda. It almost looks like a missile silo or a landing vehicle, like if he was, you know, some kind of space travel or something. And if this kind of connected in or did something, maybe you could pretend it's kind of a spaceship mode. But this really just sits on here because they didn't know what else to do with it. I don't know. And the tentacles, like if you could somehow put the tentacles somewhere else, you could almost pretend it's like a rocket ship. I don't know. This whole thing's just weird to me. Like I said, I get they wanted to do something, and you know, you have this little landing area, and I don't know, man. It is what it is. I don't know if I'm going to get the single release. I haven't decided yet. I think that's going to be kind of a, maybe if there's a sale or something like that. But I want to have one of them. I'm glad I have one of them. And I think this is the better one because I like the paint job on this one better. But overall, I just, the transformation for the Quintesson is kind of suspect at best. I can't get this guy out of here now. Apparently he just lives in there. So we'll have to figure that out some other time. And, yeah, I don't know. This is kind of weird. I guess it's supposed to be like a little Micromaster base, but it's just kind of goofy in my opinion. I think this is a pretty cool set. I know it's made up of mostly repaints of figures that are available elsewhere, but I definitely recommend picking it up. If you're like me and you're a big fan of the movie, you're definitely going to want to grab this. It's a really cool box. The artwork is fantastic, recreating the scene of the pit in the packaging and having that be kind of a little diorama as well if you wanted to pull that out of the box and use it as a display piece. I think that's a really neat inclusion. But just basing it solely on the 5 figures, I think they did a really nice job. The 2 little figures down here I think are a nice addition. They don't transform or do anything. I thought his arms were supposed to move, but I, for the life of me, can't get them to move. But they're still cool little figures, and I'm glad they included them. I think it's a really nice touch. They're definitely minor characters from the movie that I'm glad I have some physical representation of. As far as the Sharkticon, probably the one I'm least excited about in this set, but just because I've had the other one for quite some time now from the Titans Return line. It's a nice repaint. It's just a repaint of a figure I already have, and it's just a tiny Legends class. But the way I look at Sharkticons is you can never have too many because they're definitely legion. You're going to want to build a little army of Sharkticons, so throwing another one into the mix, never a bad idea. As far as the Alicon goes, I think he looks cool, nice repaint / remold. Definitely going to pick up the original one as well, because again, you kind of want a couple foot soldiers for the Quintessons, and at least I'll have one of each, so there'll be a little bit different color scheme going on there. So I think he's really cool. Definitely recommend him. As far as the Quintesson goes, I don't know if I'm going to pick up the original release because I feel like it'll probably be like this one but worse. And I feel like this is kind of the perfect Quintesson toy. Now I know with Quintessons, they don't really do much. They don't have a ton of articulation and they don't transform, so they try to do something with them all the time. Getting the faces to revolve around is like the most important play feature, and I think they've done a fine job with that. They do give you the weird little Micromaster base, and it's just them trying to add some playability to the toy, and I totally get it. But in my mind, I've always just wanted a Quintesson that looks like the movie / TV show, and this delivers on that. It's beautifully painted. All 5 of the faces are sculpted very nicely, and this is it. For me, this is the definitive Quintesson toy. I don't really need another one. It looks exactly like what I remember from the show. It'll be good for display. And like to me, this is probably the last one I'm ever going to need to buy. It looks great. I mean, it has the goofy base mode, but it doesn't take away from the figure itself. Like if you just looked at this toy, you wouldn't know it has a base mode. So that's fine. The base mode is there if I want to use it, but it's not in the way of the figure itself. So it's kind of the best of both worlds in that respect. I definitely think they nailed it, and it's a really nice looking Quintesson toy. So for that, I would say pick up this set. If you don't have any of these figures, it should be a no-brainer. If you're like me and all you have so far is the Sharkticon, I still say grab it because, like I said, you can never have too many Sharkticons. If you already have all of these, if you have the original Alicon, you have the original Quintesson, you have the original Sharkticon, you really don't care about the 2 little figures, maybe it's a pass for you. But if you're a huge fan of the movie like I am, I still think you're going to want to pick this up. Because the nice thing about it is all of these toys, it makes sense to have more than one of them because they're all foot soldiers. Even the Quintessons, there's a group of Quintessons that make up kind of the court. So if you have more than one Quintesson, it's not even that big of a bummer for display purposes. So that's the nice thing about this set. There's nothing in here that you go, oh, I absolutely already have that, and it doesn't make any sense to have another one. So there is that little caveat. So at least that's something nice. I don't remember if this is still available on Hasbro Pulse. I think what happened is they took orders for as many as they had, and then they opened up pre-orders for a second wave, which I really appreciate. So that way, pretty much everyone that wanted one could get one because they didn't really sell out. They just said, okay, we'll do a second run, but you'll have to wait, but you'll still get one. So I appreciate that. I think that's really nice. If it's still available, I would recommend grabbing it. I think it was $70, which may sound like a lot, but when you think about normal retail for this is $30, normal retail for that's $20, normal retail for that's $10, you're already up to $60. So you kind of just paying the extra $10 for these 2 little figures. Plus you're going to get free shipping from Hasbro Pulse, so just pretend like you're paying shipping. I don't think the price is unreasonable at all. I think it's a really nice set. The paint applications are nice. The figures are great. I love it. The only thing, like I said, the only thing I had to complain about, I swear the arms on that guy were supposed to move, and I cannot get them to move. Other than that, it's a home run, slam dunk, whatever you want to call it. They nailed it. I think they did a really great job. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, thank you so much for watching.